So of course, Malcolm X thought it was critical, it was absolutely critical to reformulate African American ideas of Africa because he felt it would reformulate African Americans' ideas of themselves. And so, of course, in that speech, he speaks of all of the different ways in which black people hate themselves and all of the different ways in which black people hate Africa, and of course, made that connection. And he stated, and I quote, "In hating Africa, we ended up hating ourselves and not really realizing it, because you can't hate the roots of a tree and not hate the tree. You can't hate your origin and not hate yourself." And he said he would make this case that white people knew that. And according to him, that's why they were feeding this sort of negative propaganda about Africa, because according to him, it would cause black people to hate their African identity, to hate their African heritage, to certainly hate calling themselves African, and hate their skin color. He also would make this case, which is even still which was a radical idea then, and even is a radical idea today. He would make this case that African Americans, or this, what do we call it, the so-called Negro, was more African than American. And so he even wanted people to connect themselves to Africa through how they identified themselves as African. And of course, that furthered Pan-Africanism, because if you had people of African descent around the world all identifying as African, then it certainly would further that sort of Pan-African unity that he felt was necessary to challenge global white supremacy.